From Tally to Cali.
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What up, everybody? It is Wake Up Warchant presented by Zaxby's. I'm Aslan Hajavandi. He is Corey Clark. We're here in the Midtown offices, Tallahassee, Florida. Use the promo code Plot Twist. FSU New Era.
Okay.
I mean, would you rather have 30 free days and then have to pay for 11, or would you rather have 50% off an annual membership, Corey?
I feel like the latter.
Yeah.
The latter.
Yeah. That's that promo code, FSU New Era, will give you. You'll want to use it because the hot board is out. There's another name to talk about. There's a football game going on that I think has really huge implications, and that's me being sincere. Also, while I'm being sincere, really didn't get a chance to talk about my love of that Smokehouse Barbecue Cheddar Brisket Sandwich, or not brisket, the Smokehouse Barbecue Cheddar Filet Sandwich yesterday, Corey. It was, I don't know if this is possible, but I would recommend everybody is to go with extra barbecue sauce if you could.
Okay.
Let me give you 3 adjectives to describe the barbecue sauce.
I can't wait for this.
I think these are the absolute ultimate adjectives you need to use when describing a barbecue sauce. Sweet, smoky, tangy.
Ooh, you throw the tangy in there.
It was good, but it was. I wanted more. I don't know if I didn't necessarily want to dip it into that, but I just wanted more of it drizzled onto the sandwich.
Tangy is a really dumb word. Ooh, that tastes tangy. That's just dumb. It's just dumb. Not saying it was dumb for you to say it.
I feel attacked.
Just that it's in our lexicon at all. The word tangy. I know what tang is. I know what tangy means, but we couldn't come up with something better than tangy.
What came first was like the
tang.
Did the powder mix tang come, and then we described
I don't think so.
that tasted
I think
tang?
tangy has been around for a while. It's something from like the prairie in the 1800s. Billy the Kid was probably out there saying tangy. It's just nuts. What a weird word. You do that sometimes when you'll hear a word and it catches your ear, a word you've used your whole life. Uh-huh. And you're like, man, that's a really weird, dumb word. Yeah. That happens, right?
Yeah.
That's not just me.
Right.
Why are you looking at me like that?
I
feel like I hijacked your
your
Zaxby's promo to talk about my disdain for the word tangy.
Well, you did. It's a delicious sandwich. Go ahead and check it out, folks. It's Zaxby's. It's indescribably good. All right, let's get to the show now. Plenty to talk about, per usual this time of year. Maybe a little bit more than usual.
Every other year around this place.
Yeah, right.
Here lately.
So what is this, like for the second time in 40 years, or the third time in 40 years this shop's come open?
Yeah, and the second time in 23 months.
Yeah. Doing something.
Did it even come open last time?
No, Jimbo, not really, no.
No, so they've had 2 coaching searches in the last 40-something years.
We're good. Let's hope it
one got him Bobby Bowden, and one got him Willie Taggart. So just hit something in the middle.
Can't win them all.
Sure.
All right, so on Monday afternoon, David Coburn, Director of Athletics for Florida State University, as well as interim coach Odell Hagins, met with the media. Let's start with Coburn, the athletics director. A pretty direct guy. I like David Coburn. I know there's a part of the fan base that's, he's not a sport guy. He's not a football man. He's a politico. By his nature, him and John Thrasher worked their way through the Florida legislature, if I'm not mistaken. And he's been kind of tasked in that interim role for a while of being the athletic director, and then was named full-time earlier this year, I think it was. But I kind of appreciate his no-nonsense ability. I think you and Ira and I forget who else was talking after the press conference, but just he's not a guy that sugarcoats things.
Right.
He seems pretty direct and to the point, and I thought some of the comments he made were quite, eye-opening, but kind of refreshing it should be refreshing to this fan base that, again, I think this fan base maybe even thinks a little too highly of themselves in terms of where Florida State is in the college football universe. But to hear your athletics director get up there and say 6-6 is not good enough, I'm sure that's something everybody has said in a group text or has shouted at the bar on a Saturday with their buddies. Or just talking to their tailgate. And I'm sure everybody's listening to this has said that or felt that. Your athletics director went ahead and kind of went on the record and said 6-6 was not going to be good enough when asked, kind of why the timing and why.
Yeah, and I thought that was pretty illuminating. Him saying that, because what that tells you is, well, they're not 6-6 right now. They're 4-5. His thinking there, I think, the point he was trying to make was, even if they beat Boston College, that wasn't going to save Willie Taggart's job. So why then delay the inevitable? Because all a win over Boston College gets you is to 6-6. And that's one thing it said. The other thing it said is he is under no delusion at all that they have a prayer in Gainesville. That's where this program is. You go into, that's not a great Florida team. It's a good Florida team, but it's not world beaters. They've lost twice, almost lost to Kentucky. Mm-hmm. So, 3 weeks out that your program you're in charge of has no chance against a pretty good Power 5 team. That's a bad place to be in. And that's what it means when you say 6-6 isn't good enough. Because technically they could still get to 7-5, 8-5. But we all know that's not going to happen because we're realistic. We watch these games. So I thought that was really telling, that the reason that Boston College doesn't matter is because of what happens at the end of the year when you're going to get trounced by Florida. That's where your program is. I thought that was telling. I thought the fact that he said it did look like they were making improvement early in the season. And we both said that too.
Yeah.
And then the Clemson thing happened. And he mentioned the Clemson game and how disappointing it was. Again, not that they lost. We all knew they were going to lose. But Syracuse played Clemson tougher than that. I think that game was 24-10 at the half or something. Or you're down 45-0. It's an embarrassment. Just a flat-out embarrassment. And then you lose to Wake, and then obviously Miami happened. And again, I think the most telling thing that he said in the whole press conference to me, we'll get your take in a second, Aslan.
Yeah.
Was he said how the Miami game felt eerily similar, in quotes, eerily similar to the Virginia Tech game. Absolutely. Game 21 really felt no different at all. There had been some ups and downs in between, but game 21 looked an awful lot like game 1. And when that happens, how do you sell that you're actually improving anything? It looks like you made a couple leaps up, not even leaps, a couple steps ahead, and then you fell on your face again and went right back down to where it was in game 1. And when you're an administrator having to make this decision and do the bottom line and figure out in your head, is this the cost analysis of firing him or not? Man, I get it. You're in the same exact spot you were 21 games ago. And there's no hope that it's going to get better in game 31. So that's why he made the decision. So I do think, in essence, obviously there was a lot of stuff that happened beforehand. But I do think the Miami game obviously was the final straw. Like, you had a chance to show that you had made some strides. And in Coburn's mind, I'm sure in John Thrasher's mind, in the Board of Trustees' mind, you just fell on your face. So I thought didn't you think that was a little telling that he brought up that it looked eerily similar to the game 1?
Yeah. I mean, and when you put in that sort of context, it is eye-opening. But then he gave up the reins of the offense. So what looked terrible was really the offense. It's not on him. He's not the one that's calling the plays anymore, but I guess it was his idea.
It's all on him. It's his program.
Hire this guy.
And, when you're an OC and you're like, well, or when you're an AD and you're like, well, we just didn't have a good enough quarterback to handle that Miami defense. Well, whose fault is that? Right. Who goes 2 recruiting cycles without signing a high school quarterback? And then we got an email, which was a good email, I thought. I don't know if it went to you. I thought it went to you. Maybe it was just me, about Hornibrook and how we talked about Hornibrook on yesterday's show and how that was a stopgap, but it was a stopgap that didn't make any sense because it didn't even fit what kind of offense you were trying to run.
Right.
And you still had to go to him. You still had Alex Hornibrook, slow-footed, soft-tossing lefty Alex Hornibrook was your best option 2 years into your tenure because you couldn't sign a high school quarterback that fit this system any better.
Yeah, and you try to get Justin Fields and you whiffed, and you try to get Jalen Hurts and you whiffed, and you try to get Nick Starkel and you whiffed, and
But of course you whiffed. They wouldn't come here, but nobody blames them when Ohio State and Oklahoma are on the board.
I mean, is Sam Howell's dad off the hook, by the way?
But even the prep recruiter, that's a mistake though. Why wasn't there a relationship there? Why would Walt Bell be the only the only reason somebody goes to a school?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
All right, let's not get down that path.
But I mean, that's true though, right? Like, I do think that's a big check mark. And are we going to fire this guy or not? Should we fire this guy or not? It's like, well, look at the QB situation. Maybe Jeff Sims is going to be good. We don't even know if he's coming here now. Yeah. But heavens to Betsy, 2 straight recruiting cycles without a quarterback at Florida State. You're telling me you can't find somebody out there They can play quarterback a little bit, just take a flyer on.
That doesn't. I don't think that really factors a lot into the calculus of the decision to fire him. But
yeah, sure. But you had you were left with Alex Hornibrook.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why?
Well, because you whiffed on all those other guys.
So I do think that plays into it. I don't think. I mean, they know enough about football, Coburn and Thrasher, to realize how unprecedented it is to go 2 recruiting cycles without a quarterback. No. Just and you have Jordan Travis and Alex Hornibrook. That's how you stocked your roster. Hornibrook couldn't get it done at Wisconsin, throwing 12 passes a game. Anyway.
What I found interesting.
Okay.
Well, so actually, before I move forward, and I guess maybe it dovetails into what I was going to say. So it came down to the Miami game. I mean, it came down to one game, kind of. If he beats Miami, we're taught he's still the head coach.
Yeah.
Here.
Well, in the sense that
crazy.
he could lose his job because of that game. He wouldn't have necessarily saved it. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, I think that if they still lose to Boston College and get thrashed at Florida, that Miami game might not have mattered at the end of the day.
All right.
But, yeah, it was one of the – I think Ira said it after the game on our video wrap that beating Boston College wouldn't save Willie's job, but losing to Boston College might be the end of it. It turned out, obviously the Miami game was the end of it, but I think that's the thinking there is, yeah, I mean, Miami game's a little more important because it's Miami, obviously. What are you doing?
Trying to pull up the transcript. It just came down. And I've been getting spam calls all day. It's like the 14th spam call I got.
Maybe it's not spam calls. Maybe it's Urban Meyer.
I think it's somebody. Actually, I shouldn't say that because maybe if it's not that case, that would just give somebody a bad idea. What I found kind of most interesting is because I asked the question, which nobody else thought was interesting, so it probably wasn't a good question. But just it goes to the Miami game. When I asked David just about, Willie made a statement on Twitter, which is a very nice, gracious statement about, I'm disappointed, but he didn't mention anything about, caught off guard by this. I don't think it was fair. It was just kind of like, hey,
right.
I'm disappointed. Hope everything works out well for everybody. Love you. Have a good life. And just kind of asking David Coburn about, like, did he know, like, what his employment status was here? Like, did he know that what was going on was unacceptable? Like, he had to do better, and he just, I'm trying to get the exact quote from David Coburn, but I think it was just it was one of the more direct, short answers of the entire press conference. I think he just said something like there were explicit
conversations. Yeah, he definitely said that for sure. There were explicit conversations between the two of them. Yeah. And not that was a stunner, right? Willie knows the job. He knows the deal.
But still, we talk about this being so unprecedented, getting rid of a coach. No, after 2 years it's unprecedented, let alone mid-year 2. Think about all these guys that were in over their heads. A guy like Derek Dooley at Tennessee or, Jim McElwain at Florida, you could probably have told after one season. The fact that
but
Muschamp
even he
got
wasn't
here after
that
13.
bad, you know what I mean? And Muschamp had a Sugar Bowl season.
Yeah,
and
he did 12.
This guy in 2 years, only 2 years, only 21 games, beat nobody. Yeah. 9 and 12, maybe 3 of them were good, decent wins over bowl team. 4 of them, I don't know.
Did you see the meme? Not meme, but it kind of went viral on Twitter. It was the top 10 wins of the Willie Taggart era.
So 10 was left blank.
Yeah, because he only had 9.
Sure. And the guy before him had 100. The guy before him had 350. And so it's a different place too. It's even different than Tennessee. Tennessee hadn't had a coach that won since Fulmer. Well, the last guy here won a national championship. So you're being judged against history. And this place isn't used to this and isn't content with it. It isn't going to be like, oh, we'll sit idly by while you might figure this out. They blew it up because they thought you were blowing up the program and they wanted to save it. We'll see if it works. We'll see who they hire. We'll see how quickly they can turn it around. But I think they all feel confident that whoever they're going to hire is going to be better than the guy they just fired.
Ooh, don't give that part away yet. We'll get to that later on in the program.
Well, literally anyone. In their mind, I think literally anyone would do. Somebody
they'd have to deliberately botch this to be worse off.
I saw on Twitter, and this sounds like a joke, but it's not. What would Florida State have been better off just keeping Odell the last 2 years? Absolutely. Could it have been worse? I guess they could have gone 0-11 the last 2 years, but I think they would have played hard for Odell. I think they would have respected Odell. Not that saying they didn't respect Willie Taggart, But they didn't always play hard for him, and they certainly didn't seem to respect the
They
whole.
played hard for him, I feel like. No, they never quit, man. That Virginia game.
I mean, I feel like his first year they did a whole lot of that. This year they played played harder, mostly. But I think I just think for whatever reason they responded more to Odell those first 2 or 3 games 2 years ago. Those 2 games were better than any 2. I know they were against whoever they were against.
Doesn't matter. It was Louisiana Monroe.
Well, Louisiana Monroe.
And
we saw what Willie did against Louisiana Monroe with 2 years to build up to that game. So they played better under Odell than they played under Willie. So, yeah. And I don't think Odell's going to be the head coach here. I don't think he should be the head coach here. I think you can go get somebody really, really good. But yeah, that's how bad it was that I think they're in the position of anybody we hire is going to be a step up. I'm not saying that's true, but that's how they feel, and I think, we'll see how the next guy does, I guess. Or woman.
I don't know where I wanted to pivot. I guess let's pivot. You're talking about Odell. Let's just kind of keep the ball rolling there. This is obviously the second time in 2 years he's been the interim coach. Things worked out well last time. He won the 1 game to get them bowl eligible. He's going to have to win 2 this time around, but you would figure if he beats Boston College, that second win is pretty much all but assured if you show up, because you'll probably beat Alabama State and get to a bowl game. I think that's a really big deal. It's going to be much tougher this time around. It's not Louisiana Monroe. It's Boston College. It's at Boston.
Yeah.
It's in November. Also, I think there was that galvanizing point of everybody was anti-Jimbo. I think guys like Trickett probably felt betrayed. I don't know about Charles Kelly.
But I think the players did too.
Yeah.
So most importantly, I think the players felt betrayed.
I think most importantly, I think the coaching staff all stepped up. I think like Randy Sanders really stepped up and did a really good job as the OC. Figured out let's simplify this thing with James, make it simple. What are you comfortable with? We got Cam running well. We'll keep kind of going to the well on that. Obviously everybody else on the defensive side of the ball, still kind of finished things out like a pro. Rick Trickett, I'm sure he felt really betrayed and was kind of nearing the end of it. I mean, they carried him off the field. He was crying. I mean, so my concern is, man, there is not that sort of rallying point around this time. There's just Dante Pimpleton's a Willie guy. Raymond Woody's is a Willie guy. David Kelly is a Willie guy.
Yeah.
Telly Lockett is a Willie guy. Although out of all those guys, I feel like Telly will keep his nose to the grindstone and keep working as hard as he possibly can.
Well, that's why you got to.
I'm very concerned because I think it's
why are you concerned?
I think they need to win. They need to make a bowl game. I think winning a bowl game, especially with some of the people they're talking about trying to hire, and we'll get to that here in a little bit. I think it's crucial to get into a bowl game because, let's go ahead, cat out the bag. The name that's starting to pick up some momentum now from not only what Ira is hearing, but Gene, who also they both have different sources, is Bob Stoops is emerging as probably the lead candidate. This was a guy that 2 years ago they had put feelers out for, but he wasn't interested in coming back and coaching. Now he's a guy that's getting ready for the XFL to launch, and he's getting that thing started. So he obviously has.
I feel like he'd rather coach at Florida State than the XFL.
I think he would as well too. Yeah. That is a huge hire. That is a guy who could come in. There's no waiting. There's nothing. There's no prior obligations for him to wrap up. You want this job? All right, man. Come on to Tallahassee. Let's get this thing going on right now. Make it to a bowl game. He's got 15 practices. He doesn't have to be the hands-on coach. Odell can finish out the string as the interim coach, but 15 practices to hang around it more, get settled into his office, watch practice, watch film, see the way these kids act, what he needs to stock the cupboard on. Because I don't know what Willie just must have been in awe of hanging out with Deion Sanders at Shreveport because he did not use that opportunity to look at that roster and figure out, damn, I need to start getting some offensive linemen here ASAP. Like, I got to go JUCO ranks. Like, we got to get guys in here now. Give the next coach here, if it is a guy like Bob Stoops, especially because he's on the bench right now, 15 practices to look and assess and get this thing back fixed. So, I think it's huge. And it's going to be tough because I don't think all these coaches, I'm sure Kendall and Randy got an eye looking for any job in Texas that's open right now. I just don't know how many people are going to be pulling in the same direction.
I think if you hired Stoops, and, of course he probably won his own OC, so maybe he makes a call to Lincoln Riley. See if he wants to get the band back together and go work for him down in Tallahassee. Maybe he's tired of all the pressure that comes with being a head coach in Norman. But in seriousness, I do think there's a chance that, Browse and Clements might want to stay and work with Bob Stoops. Just throwing that out there. The guy that was his OC isn't coming with him. So he might have some other guys, and I'm not saying he's coming.
Yeah.
But if he comes, he might have some other names in place, or he might want to keep Kendall. I mean, he coached against him a good bit. He might want to keep Kendall Briles and Randy Clements and see how that works.
I don't know. I think he always stymied Baylor. Like, he was the team. I think Oklahoma was a team that always kind of brought Baylor back down to earth and was like, yeah, this isn't. You guys don't play real football.
Yeah, but Oklahoma plays that same exact.
Now they do.
Yeah. Well, under him they did. In 2010, they were going so fast.
Yeah, but he stopped
on Mark Stoops, on his brother, for crying out loud. He treated his own brother like that.
Mike. Oh yeah, you're right. Mark, you're right. That's my caveat, though. My brother said that in the text message. As long as he doesn't bring Mike as his DC, I'm so on board with.
I
Bob
feel like
Stoops.
even if he did, it's Bob Stoops.
Oh, I ain't saying no to Bob. It's like, Bubby,
hey,
come on.
You don't have to bring your brother.
Yeah, come on, Bubby.
But all right, fine. Just help him out a lot. Whatever you got to do. But no, in the counter to that, though, and I think that's a good point, that if whoever comes would have 2 or 3 weeks to gauge the roster in real time by looking at it.
Especially him. If you get a PJ Fleck, he's not going to bail out of Minnesota, I don't think.
He'd bail before the bowl. They always do. You have to. It's the stupid early signing period. But in the same token, then you're employing those coaches that you're going to fire for another 2 or 3 weeks. So I don't know the NCAA rules about who can recruit. Like, I'm sure Bob Stoops can make phone calls, but Florida State's not going to have a linebackers coach. They're not going to have an official O-line coach or an official wide receivers coach or whoever. So who can recruit while you're preparing for your bowl game? If you miss the bowl, boom, you get your staff in place, and while everybody else is having to worry about practicing to play whoever, Wyoming, you get those 2 or 3 weeks or that month to worry about getting on the phone and getting out and seeing kids and getting them to your school.
Well, I think it's a win-win. Like, if a guy like Dante Pimpleton's like, I'm done here, well, then you don't have to pay him as much on the buyout.
Well, they're not going to do that. That would be dumb for them to do that. Now, they're not going to give it their all, but that's just human nature. They know they're leaving. They know – those guys know they're not coming back. They're just not, under almost any circumstance, going to be back at Florida State.
Not. They're not. Telly, I think Telly's the only guy that's a, quote, Willie guy that.
But you're looking at least 4, right? I think Odell and Dugans, we'll see.
Right.
But out of and maybe Snyder, I don't know, probably not. But I think the 4 that you mentioned earlier, know for sure they're not coming back. So how hard are they hitting the phone?
Or maybe, well, not the.
What are they even saying to those kids?
Yeah,
what are they selling? Florida State? No, they're not recruiting.
Well, I think if you got Bob Stoops, that's all the recruiting you need, man.
But that's what I'm saying. But you'd want them. If you got Bob Stoops, but you still made a bowl, well, then those guys are still employed for another month.
Yeah, well, then they're not talking to the recruits. I mean,
just Stoops.
Yeah, him and Odell.
I don't know what the rules are with that. I don't know what the rules are as far as how many calls a head coach can make. And Odell would probably still be the interim. So can Stoops call him? Can Odell call? I mean, I really don't know. We could have somebody on, and maybe Langston could talk about those rules. So I don't know what's more beneficial, to just blow up the staff, get it done with, make your hires, get them announced, so then these kids around the country know who's going to be their position coach, or Stoops getting to look at his team for an extra 15 practices.
I like it's a whole month.
And we're saying Stoops as if it's a done deal. We don't know if it's a done deal. Whoever it is, Stoops, Meyer, Bowden, Dabo, Venables, whoever it is, if it's better for them to see those 15 days, I think Venables has seen enough to get an idea of what the team is.
I'm starting to come around to the Venables candidacy. I think you're onto something with that too.
Okay.
To your point, as well as you bring him in, you knock out a leg out from Clemson, but then you're pretty much within 2 years you're going to be elite on defense. I feel like you're close to elite on defense.
Who was Venables the DC for before he went to Clemson?
Oklahoma.
Who was their head coach?
Bob Stoops.
Folks, is this happening? Are y'all seeing it? Are y'all seeing the picture like I see it? You pay Bob Stoops, I don't know, $8 million. You got all this money now, apparently. You pay Bob Stoops $8 million in annuities and stocks and bonds and whatever you have to do. He can cash them later when he retires. Venables is his DC. Obviously, Lincoln Riley wants to send Bob Stoops out with a national championship, so he comes down. Are you kidding me, folks? Hurts might trade. Does he have another year?
Stop it.
All right, sorry. Derek King might come. Just saying. By the way, I saw a report that the rumor is now that he is not going to stay with the program, Derek King.
Oh, really?
What's funny about that is I talked to Ira. Of course, I can say this now because it doesn't matter. I talked to Ira after the game, and we were talking. I think it was Ira. I was talking about. It's weird how we have all these conversations. We forget who we're talking to sometimes. It's really bizarre. But
we sounds like more like a you problem.
Well, you said it. You're like
yeah.
you and me and Ira were talking
right,
about something.
Sorry.
That obviously everybody had already punted on Taggart after the Miami game, but I'm like, what needs to happen is there needs to be a report planted out there somewhere very quickly that D'Eriq King is transferring and not staying at Houston. Because the only thing that could save him and buy him any time is the prospect of him getting that quarterback. And so they need to do whatever they need to do to get that out there. And then literally the Sunday morning, there was a report somewhere that, because I saw it on College Football News Twitter, that D'Eriq King was probably going to be leaving the program and not just redshirting to play in 2020. So I'm like, all right,
Shocked.
There you go, Willie.
Stunned.
Get that out there. Let people know that's at least a possibility. Yeah. And then he got fired anyway, so it didn't matter. And I don't know where he's going. But I tell you what, that might be a good. If Kendall Briles could tell Bob Stoops or whoever, hey man, you keep me around, you're getting this kid. That's a good way to start your first year at a new program. Yeah. Just saying, that might be something you think about.
I'm not totally off the Kendall Briles bandwagon, but I wouldn't be crushed if he were to leave. Like if he and Randy Clemens were like, yeah, we're going to take it out down the road. Like, all right, man, thanks. You guys tried, I guess.
You tried.
Hey. We were ready to give you a raise at halftime of the Boise State game.
Even the first quarter of the Boise game, we wanted you to be the head coach.
Yeah. And then you squandered that. That's your fault.
Well, you played good defenses, and you kind of just melted down.
Yeah, to that point, I don't know where the administration stands on this right now, but I do think I'm your point about Brent Venables, a guy like Bob Stoops, I think you're at the point where you have to bring in somebody who's elite on one side of the ball. And like a PJ Fleck is more of a motivator, CEO kind of guy. I don't know if that is where this program is at right now to have a guy take over. I don't know. I think he's more of an offensive guy. I think he had like a cup of coffee in the NFL with the 49ers. There was like some good story about him playing special teams and the effort he showed or something like that. He's a scrappy guy. But that's, when you think about a guy like Bob Stoops, you're like, all right, well, the defense is handled. He will probably know a good offensive coordinator to hire and be like, all right, you take care of it. I'm going to stay out of your way. And then he will scheme up probably a pretty good defense that by midway of year 2, you're like, all right, they're good. Cool. We got guys that know how to sack.
I think Bob Stoops, I see what you're saying. I think Bob Stoops is a little different than like Venables. I think Venables, I don't know how involved in the day-to-day Stoops had been with the defense in his last few years at Oklahoma. I do know that their defense wasn't very good there at the end of his tenure. Right. But it's a weird conference. They don't have a lot of good defensive players in the Big 12. And those offenses are high-flying and crazy. Venables, I think, is an automatic that within 2 years your defense will be very good because he's done that where he's been. He knows how to do it.
Yeah, you're right.
The thing with Stoops is you're getting somebody that can run a program at a national championship level. And I'm not even talking about the one he won 2 decades ago against this program, just that they were, at least 3 out of 4 years they were always in the top 10. He ran a consistently great program.
And they played for 2 other national titles. They didn't win them. Got destroyed in one of them.
And one was in 2003, and then one was the Adrian Peterson win. So he hadn't been in a national champ.
No, it was 2009 against Florida. They lost.
Oh, well, then they were in 3 of them because they lost to LSU. They lost to Jimbo and LSU in 2003.
Oh,
Jason White.
That one.
They lost to They got hammered by that great USC team, and then So he had, and those were 3 years apart, all of them. So every 3 or 4 years he was playing for a national championship.
Which is what I'm fine with, and I think that's Florida State's station in life.
Because it's but that's fine if you're relevant and you're always in the running, and that's what he did. Is that it had a couple of dips here and there, but not significant, and then they'd be right back up top. Yeah. And then he left it in obviously really good shape, where they're in the playoffs every year or fighting for the playoffs. So he can run a program, whether the defense is great. He can run a nationally relevant, very good program, which means he knows how to organize. He knows how to get recruits to keep coming. He knows how to cycle through recruits, cycle through assistant coaches, hire assistant coaches, fire them when they have to. He made a lot of really, really good decisions at Oklahoma. Again, don't know if it's going to be him. That would be a coup in my mind. That he wants to coach again. Obviously he wants to coach again. Mm-hmm. He was going to be the next XFL coach. Yeah. So, if it's not Stoops, and again, Venables, I don't have any inside knowledge on whether they would even offer it to Venables or Venables would even be interested. But that guy, he's never been a head coach before, but who has he worked under? Bob Stoops and Dabo. Those are two really good guys to learn from.
And Bob Snyder, I think.
Yeah,
Snyder.
maybe. Now you're killing me. Not Bob Snyder. What's his name at
We're
Kansas
not looking
State?
it up.
Bill Snyder.
Bill Snyder.
We were close.
Close.
Yeah, we're not looking at Yeah, look it up. It was like Kansas State coach for 35 years. Name
a Black Jerry that's good at football.
So those are three really good guys to learn from, especially those last two. So he knows in his mind this is how a program needs to be run.
Oh, yeah.
So that's good, too. Jimbo had that. Jimbo learned under Saban. He had and Bowden to an extent. It wasn't peak Bobby Bowden, but he still got to work under Nick Saban and Bobby Bowden. That's why he kind of knew what he was doing when he took off. Taggart just got Harbaugh.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Harbaugh.
I think I said this maybe on the video chat. I don't know if I shared it with the family here on Wake Up Warchant presented by Zaxby's. But I texted my guy at that SEC.
And Birch. Let's not forget Birch.
Yeah, Dr. Heather Birch.
The greatest.
Bah. It's a goat.
Goat. Okay. I was like, what
She's
was that
a goat
noise?
of orthodontia.
Orthodontia.
He had texted me, what are the names floating around out there? And told him PJ Fleck, and then the other two names are on the hot board. Use the promo code FSU New Era to find those out. He says 3 good choices. I said great choices on the video chat with Ira and Gene, but he actually just said 3 good choices.
Who is this we're talking about?
This is my buddy who works for SEC.
Did you say that already in this show?
I don't think so, no.
Well, let people know, and otherwise you're just
Well,
a
I was
buddy.
saying I entered. I'm like my guy that works for SEC program.
Oh,
but you weren't
my
paying
fault.
attention.
Sorry, I
like
wasn't. That's why I was asking.
76% of the time
Sorry.
I talk. I'm like 3. He says 3 good choices, and then this morning I'm like hearing Bob Stoops, and he's like, so not Mark. And I'm like, correct, Oklahoma Bob. He's like, that'd be a great hire. I hear Bob is the absolute best to work for.
And that's another thing, and I think.
Well, because he was like, you try to get an ops job. He's kidding, because when he gets a head coaching job, he told me he'd bring me on as his ops guy.
Oh, there you go.
So I'm going to do this as long as I possibly can. But I do think that eventually, if I do get an ops job, I think I could parlay that into being a head coach.
I also feel like you could be a good bag man.
I
mean, you can be sly.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, I got that dastardly gene in me.
Yeah, I think you could do that and not have any qualms about it at all. You're
not from my mom's
games.
side of the family. It's all the Hudjavandi side of the family.
Sure. Yeah, man. The one thing that I watched some of the video. I actually did watch some of the video you and Ira and Gene did yesterday.
Riveting
Sunday.
stuff.
It was. I was good. And Ira's point about how Taggart wasn't maybe the easiest person to work for.
I can't wait for the Taggart tales, bro. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Bring it.
But no, I mean, not even about like these coaches, but why he didn't get some of the guys wouldn't come with him. They had heard through the grapevine at South Florida that he'd maybe not had the best relationship with some of his coaches. Didn't he fire like 3 coordinators or 2 or 3?
Where his guys ended up? What is the Willie Taggart coaching tree?
Sure. So it became, other than that core group, his core group of guys, 3 or 4 guys that he trusted. It was, he apparently wasn't the easiest to work for, or there was discussion among other assistant coaches, maybe don't go work for him. Now, we can't really hold Cristobal against him. My man got the head job. Mm-hmm. Of course he's going to stay. But Levitt didn't even go work for him then. I mean, I know Levitt's here now, but he didn't go. He'd rather stay. He stayed at Oregon instead of going with Willie to Florida State. And I know he got turned down by some other coaches. So, I think there were word out there that maybe he wasn't not just the easiest guy to work for, because Saban isn't the easiest guy to work for. But people line up to work for Nick Saban because they know he's going to make their careers. Well, you don't know that with Willie Taggart. You don't know if your career apparently not. I mean, just like you mentioned the Taggart tree, your career doesn't really get expedited to a head coaching level working under Willie Taggart. Meanwhile, Bob Stoops, that's a really marketable person to go work for. That his former OC is now, he could be an NFL coach whenever he wants. Yeah. And that was just 3 or 4 years. His brother got a head coaching job. His other brother got a head coaching job. I mean, the Stoops name helps, but they also, they had a really good resume. So I think that's something that's a positive with the Stoops. With somebody like a Venables or even a Fleck, who's only 38, there's not enough data. You say data, I say data. To say one way or the other whether it's a great for your coaching career to go to work for those guys. But Stoops, that's a home run, man. That's a home run. And it was funny because Monday morning I woke up. It was like I'm so tired of reading about home run hires because you don't know. If it's not Nick Saban, you just don't know if it's a home run hire or not. Yeah. You could say Urban Meyer was a home run at Ohio State. That's fine, but he also, there's a lot of baggage you have to put up with. He's more like a double off the wall or a triple because of the other stuff. Nick Saban is an absolute home run. If he said he was coming to Florida State, people would run around and lose their minds. Yeah. But other than like those two guys, I was like, man, quit telling me Taggart was a home run because of his recruiting. When they hired Jimbo, most analysts laughed. Most college football quote-unquote experts, they're like,
dude,
oh,
was so stoked.
That's a C-. They're hiring an assistant who they just went 7-6. So how good is he done? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just don't read on, don't care. Turner Gill was considered a home run. Other guys weren't. And they just, nobody knows. Bob Stoops, you know. You almost know. God, you hear that? Did you hear that?
Yeah. Your tummy?
Yeah.
Tummy problem over there, big guy?
I hope the mic didn't pick that up. If it did, yeah, folks, that was my tummy. Or my throat, like a combination of the two. Okay. It's pretty exciting. Pretty exciting what the next few minutes is going to bring. But I think that Stoops, man, I think as much as you can be, somebody like him, that's as close to a home run as you can hit. It's not official because you don't know.
Yeah.
But if his track record means anything, Oklahoma isn't in any better place than Florida State. Certainly not when he took over. Now, he was a younger man then. He's 59 now. But Oklahoma isn't – I mean, I know they won a lot of games pre-integration. But over the last 40 years, Florida State's been just as good a program, better a program than Oklahoma. Do you hear that? Holy moly. You're going to have to edit that out.
When they had Bud Wilkinson, was that pre-70? Was that pre-integration?
Yeah, that was in the 40s.
Okay.
Yeah,
they were really good on it, Bud Wilkinson.
Yeah.
And Barry Switzer is the most alpha man alive. Well, I mean, I guess, roundabout way.
That was a renegade program with old Barry Switzer.
I love me some Barry. We'll take a break here, but before we do that, just to kind of button up that, where I was trying to go with that sort of train of thought about, you bring in a guy like Venables, you're a lead on defense probably within a few years.
Absolutely.
Stoops maybe gives you that. And people that don't think Willie got a fair shake at it, David Coburn talked about, they had their data points and they think they made the right decision. Data. Willie didn't bring any of it. Willie was not the Stoops sort of CEO type that knew what it took and knew the way to mix the ingredients and the formula to get it all going. And he wasn't the offensive sort of savant that maybe he was marketed as. And that's Florida State's fault for falling for it. They should have maybe looked a little bit closer at it and seen whether or not he really was the architect of these offenses. How much of it was just him, just having a good year at USF, really. Let's be honest. I mean, they had one really good year, 16. Yeah. And they played this Florida State team that no one was really excited about in 16 and got absolutely trounced. If you got a guy who's not a really good organized manager, hasn't been there, hasn't done that, and doesn't really give you that added edge of, all right, we know that one side of the ball is going to have we're going to have a big leg up on most of the people in our conference because he brings this to the table when it comes to defensive scheming or offensive play calling. Like, what do you have in a $5 million head coach?
Well, another point that I thought Ira brought up that was salient was that it's one thing to recruit at South Florida against the likes of the teams you're recruiting against. Central Florida, Florida Atlantic, UAB, Troy.
UConn, Tulsa.
And beat those guys out. Yeah. But when you're recruiting against Kirby Smart and Nick Saban and Dabo and how many of those did they win? Now, if they would have won 8 or 9 or 10 games, I do think the whole narrative changes, obviously, in that first season, of course. Mm-hmm. If they'd have won some games and looked good doing it, I think he might have been able to recruit. But when you put the product on the field that you put on the field and you're going up against those guys, man, that's a whole different ball game, man. And he got his hat handed to him, not just on the field, but against elite teams on the recruiting trail. Some of these guys never even considered Florida State, most of them. And Florida State's used to being considered by everyone in the state. All the big boys in the state at least have Florida State in their top 3, top 5, but that wasn't even happening because of the state of the program and because, again, and I said it all season, man, and I said it last year. Wasn't there a kid that kind of wanted to go to Florida State, the lineman, but ended up going to Clemson? It was an offensive
Will
lineman.
Putnam.
Yeah,
Will
it's
Putnam.
like, man, can you blame him or his dad?
You blame Sam Howell. There was a kid, Charles Cross, who was a 3-star under-the-radar offensive lineman from Laurel, Mississippi that Greg Fry got on early and committed to Florida State. And then as this thing went downhill, he backed out, became a 5-star, and committed to Mississippi State. I can you blame that kid for staying in state. There was something I was going to say. but it'd probably get me in trouble.
Well, that's good. Let's avoid that then. What do you think about Odell?
Fine. Let's talk about that. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Let's talk about our interim coach, too, and Odell Hagins. Hagins?
At Birch Orthodontics, they know what a difference a beautiful and healthy smile can make in your life.
They take the time to get to know you and perform a thorough exam so that they can make an individualized treatment plan just for you or your child.
They use the latest technology in a warm and comfortable environment. So whether you are interested in traditional metal or clear braces or clear aligners, they can give you the smile you deserve. They know investing in your smile means investing in your future. And at Birch Orthodontics, they are honored to be a part of your smile journey.
Serving Tallahassee for 16 years and supporting the Noles since forever. Check them out at birchorthodontics.com. BURCH orthodontics.com. Welcome back. It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Zaxby's. Again, use the promo code FSU New Era. Gets you 50% off an annual membership to warchant.com. So I think that comes out to even less than like $49.95. Or maybe it is about $49.95 for a whole year, man.
That's great. That's great.
You know
let's all bring in the Stoops here together.
Yeah, you know what's better than that? If you're a student, email support at warchant.com. From your FSU student email address, and we'll give you a promo code that gets you 12 months of access for $12 freaking dollars. So if you're in Tallahassee, just like drive around campus and try to befriend a young co-ed. But hey, let me use your email address. Get us a membership to warchant.com. We can split it. You go $6, I'll go $6.
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah. It's a good way to open up a conversation too.
Yeah.
Think of all the nights late at night when you're just, I don't want to say you're in bed next to each other, but you're on the couch or something, and you're just both reading Warchant together.
I told you about that on Saturday in the elevator. This lovely couple on the way up to the president's box was, you're from Warchant, right? I'm like, yeah, like, love your articles. I'm like, thank you, but I don't write. They're like, oh, well, your videos, the interviews. We love the interviews. They're like, we put it up on our Apple TV, and we watch it in bed every night.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, all right.
Imagine seeing me and Ira.
So, yeah. Maybe like put a little timbre
in
my voice.
Yeah, you should put some Kenny G music or Luther Vandross.
Yeah. So shout out to Vic and his lovely wife. Appreciate you. Hopefully you listen to this as well.
And again, to all the people that came out Friday night. That was fun.
That was awesome, man.
That was a really good time.
Thanks for all your hard work, by the way, organizing everything, coordinating it, keeping it all going.
I tried giving away the presents, giving away the gifts and the tickets. Count all the tickets. Well, it's a hard job, but somebody had to do it.
I mean, the way people would look at me when I would call a number out for the raffle and it wasn't their gift, it hurts me to this day. That's
going to stay with you.
They just look at me like, God.
A lot of disappointment.
I'm like, oh, man, I'm pulling random numbers out. I can't control it. I can't control the
But
numbers.
the nice couple that I had one guy was leaving, and he gave me a bunch of tickets, and then I gave them to I just can't remember their names. I'm not good with that stuff. I gave them a lot of the tickets, like half the tickets that I had. And they got a Bobby Bowden signed football.
Oh, nice.
That's pretty cool.
Right.
Nice, lovely couple. Good-looking couple.
Should we tell the story about Travis, or should we save that? I don't even know how long we went that first time. We still got to talk about
just
Odell.
Talk about it.
All right. There was a gentleman at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill on Friday for the Bar None Foundation fundraiser casino night. Apparently he's a fan of the program. He calls 850-792-5730 and leaves voicemails, and he actually did, but they were like 2.5-minute long voicemails.
Right.
Love you, Trav. Just can't do that. It's not good radio. It's not good podcasting. Keep it 30 seconds or under. Dude, call us, by the way, and we'll put it on the show. Anyhow, he is like, I don't know, like a foot shorter than Michael Clark Duncan. Rest in peace. I mean, just jacked. Our guy looks like he was like a stunt double for him.
Yeah, he's enormous. Just like a
Yoked.
barrel. He's like he's holding a barrel in his chest.
A lot of shrugs, a lot of upright rows, a lot of lat pull downs, trap work.
He actually compared himself to the Green Mile. I think I said something like, "Man, what do you do if somebody like confronts you or tries you?" Because I asked him. He said he benched 500 pounds, which I believe it 100%. And he says, well, people don't really do that. And then he compared himself to Green Mile. Okay. That guy.
Gentle giant he was. Very nice and kind.
Very nice
very
guy.
friendly. But, you'd look at him and be like, I ain't barking up this tree at all. So, apparently, he's a huge fan. And part of his voicemail was that this has been a trip 25 years in the making. He has never been to Doak Campbell Stadium. Huge Florida State fan. I don't know exactly where he grew up, but he currently lived out in Colorado. And he and his friend flew out to Tallahassee for this game, the Miami game. We're going to come out, hang out with everybody at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. And he's talking to us about, I got my tickets, but I'm a little bit nervous. A couple people said that I might have gotten scammed. I bought them online. I was kind of transferred from a couple email accounts and then told to ultimately PayPal my purchase. the money for the purchase for the tickets. I'm like, well, that's good though, because PayPal, I'm pretty sure, insures your purchase. So if someone does try to scam you, if you use PayPal, you'll get your money back. He's like, yeah, but the problem is they only do that for up to 180 days. I purchased these tickets last December, and I'm like, oh, that's wow. Like, you bought Miami like a year ago? He's like, yeah. And he's like, look, and I'm like, and he shows you how much he paid for the tickets.
Yeah.
I mean, he spent like over $900 on 2 tickets to the Miami game. And this ain't 2003 Miami game. This ain't 91 Miami game.
No.
And it's just like, oh, no. I mean, you bought it like a year in advance, and that's why they do that, because by the time and we're just scrambling. Everybody, like, it's ruined our nights, and we don't want to tell them that, hey, man, you just got scammed. So we're just like, oh, gosh. And then, like, I got anxiety. Alicia, who helped us out, I guess part of the Jeff Cameron show family.
Yeah. She used to work at 97.9.
So we're just like, oh, gosh. And I'm like, hey, man, take my number down just in case, and we'll see if we get you into the game somehow, some way. Well, then we raffle off the prizes. We actually had 2 tickets to the Miami game. One of Gene's friends won it. They were season ticket holders. They gave it to me. I'm like, all right, good. We got him covered. So I kept trying to get a hold of him. Like, dude, I have 2 tickets, like legitimate tickets for you. But we couldn't get a hold of him. And then during the game, I'm texting him. I'm like, dude, are you in? He was like, I'm trying right now. And I'm like, well, let me know. But yeah, long story short, he actually did get into the stadium. The tickets were legit.
Right.
Just grossly overpriced.
Sure.
But, hey, he made it into the stand. That's all he cared about.
Well, but Travis, come back, man.
Yes.
I know it's not easy to get here from Colorado, but that can't be the only time you come to Doak Campbell Stadium is to see the last game of Willie Taggart's tenure and to see your team get beat by 17 points by a bad football team. So, or at least not a good football team. So come back. I would say Stoops 2022. They're going to be probably number 3 in the country when they play Miami. Come back for that game. We'll still be doing this probably, unless Aslan's a bagman for someone. But we'll still be doing this show in one form or fashion. So come back.
So if you were named the head football coach of Florida State and you brought Brent Venables in as your defensive coordinator, like, you wouldn't make me be the ops guy. Like, I'd be the shadowy figure bringing in recruits. Like, you'd utilize me as a bagman. You feel that'd be the best use of my talent.
I don't want you out front. I don't want your picture in the media guide. You're a behind-the-scenes guy.
Man, that's something that's a good way of using my whatever.
No, I mean, I just think that every program needs somebody like that. I think you'd be very good in that role. I think you could be convincing. You're a smooth talker.
I got a big mouth, though.
You got a big mouth, but I think that helps in this role.
Okay.
I think you'd be confrontational if they don't take the money, which we like.
Correct.
We want people to be a little bit afraid of what's going to happen to them if they don't take our money.
Yeah, all right.
So all that is where we need. We don't need director of ops in a picture of you smiling on page 180 of the media guide. We need you behind the scenes making double what the director of ops guy makes and getting us players.
I just want to be like Chuck Walsh. I just want to wear sweats my whole life.
You can do that. Bagmen do that, right?
Okay, all right. Yeah. That's all I want.
Okay. No, not. We don't want people to know who you're associated with, so you're not wearing Florida State gear.
Yeah, that's what the team gear. It's so
no,
cool looking.
You wear just straight pedestrian, like Nike gear. It just says Nike on it.
I gotcha.
Have a picture of like a cat or something.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be – this is weird. I do – somebody asked me after the press conference on Monday, like, do you feel like you have a new lease on life with Willie being gone? And I'm like, yeah, kind of, man. I'm going to be able to sleep. Might have a coach.
Who knows? Maybe the next guy comes in and does this too.
Yeah, that's true.
Don't start counting those chickens yet.
Although I will say this, I will be rooting because I'll be on the comfort of my own couch. This will probably be the most I will be pulling for Florida State to win a football game since, I don't know, man. I mean, like, maybe the Florida game in 17?
Why? This game coming up?
Yeah, this is huge. Again, I really think they need to win to get bowl eligible. I think there's a lot of benefit to this team practicing for 15 more sessions, even if it's going to be with 4 full-time coaches or maybe 7. They're got one foot out the door, but I still think hopefully, this is me now trying to talk myself into this not being too big of a hole for Odell to dig out of. If you're Dante Pimpleton, man, you got to put good stuff on tape still, man. Like, you have to still work hard and be a pro so that you can land another job. Unless, I don't know.
I guess if you're Pimpleton, you just say, hey, you see that move that Cam Akers just made?
Yeah, that was me.
I taught him that.
Yeah, man, I do think bowl eligibility is a big deal. This will be cool. I don't know. I do feel almost like a kind of a rebirth. Man, after that, that Virginia Tech game took it out of me. Just watching that game. I've gone back and I've looked at the stand-up that you and Ira did after that game. I've gone and listened to our podcast the first 2-3 minutes after that game. That was a dark day
Yeah.
That game was horrendous.
Because you're like, what did we just do?
And it just
what just happened?
And it set the table for this. What's
I was talking to somebody
when
I got lunch on Monday. Somebody was talking. He said I don't think it was a player's parent, but it was a season ticket holder, a longtime booster, that told them after the Virginia Tech game, they were like, man, did we practice at all this summer? Like, what was the practice for? No, those were realistic responses to what they saw that day. And it didn't really get much better, really, for much of that year. And then that Miami game was just a slap back in the reality, a slap in the face of, oh, yeah, that's what that looks like. That looks a lot like what it looked like last year.
It's funny you say that because my brother, after he went into his trash tirade about everything, literally, I think that was one of the things that he texted. He was just like, did they even practice last week?
Yeah.
Going after he saw what happened to the Miami game.
Same thing with Clemson. Clemson.
Who the F put together the game plan for the game yesterday? Like, we don't even practice.
Yeah, the same thing with Clemson, too. Yeah. Like, you watch that game, and you're like, yeah, we know they're better than you. They're not that much better than you. It looks like you just got off a bus and didn't know your teammates. Like, hey, guys, like, you're going to try to tackle the guy with the ball.
Right.
It was an embarrassment. That whole game was just an absolute embarrassment. Anyway, it's over now.
Not an embarrassment.
Odell.
2-0 Odell.
Yeah.
Being undefeated.
Those press conferences are really funny. It was a lot like the last time where he is who he is, and he is not going to – if he got asked a tough question about not a tough question, but I guess it kind of was. Coburn's right there in the room. Somebody asked him, do you think 21 games is enough to decide if a head coach should be retained or not? Yeah. And after making them repeat the question, he's like, look, that's a really tough question. I'm just focused on Boston College. I'm just here, and I'm focused on Boston College. And that was probably his answer 10 or 12 times. Even asked about would he want to be the head coach. Yeah.
I really haven't thought about it.
I haven't thought about it.
I really haven't thought about it.
I haven't thought about what my life's going to be like in 2020. I'm just focusing on Boston College. And I do think, now obviously, I'm sure somewhere in there he's thinking, okay, am I going to have a job in 2020? That's human nature. Yeah. We get it. But I do think Odell is very, very genuine in his love for this university, and more than anybody else, because he's been with it longer than the only two people that have been with Florida State longer than Odell Hagins in the history of the program were Bobby Bowden and Mickey Andrews. I think he might have even surpassed Mickey by now.
By the way, Mickey, former defensive coordinator at Florida.
Yeah.
Bob Stoops, former defensive coordinator at Florida.
Worked
out all right.
Yeah.
Worked out all right.
But I think Odell might be the second. Like, I don't think anybody's been at Florida State maybe longer than Odell other than Bobby Bowden for a tenure. Either way, counting his playing days. He loves this place, and he does bleed this, and it does matter to him. So that's really his only message. He did say that he's going to let Bryles pick the quarterback, which makes sense.
Right.
And he is still going to be a coach.
Which means Hornibrook's going to start probably. Hornibrook is going to start.
And he's still going to be the D-line coach and all that. But when you really tried to ask him specifics about anything, it was all about Florida State.
The players,
the family, and staying focused on Boston College. Not even thinking about getting to a bowl, just staying focused on Boston College, which was exactly what it was 2 years ago.
Right. The one interesting thing I think he did say was he was asked about the mood of the team or what he told the team, and he said something about, I told these guys to keep practicing hard or keep playing hard because that's what Coach Taggart would want. Like he was kind of evoking.
Yeah.
This is what Willie would want. So I wonder if that's, again, it goes to the point of when Jimbo left, it was a galvanizing point for everybody, front office, coaches, roster. It's not the same sort of rallying point. There's a lot of people in that locker room that apparently are hurt, sad that Willie got let go. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how Odell kind of tries to walk that line of you guys love. I mean, because they did play hard for him, man. And I don't know how much more they had left in the tank for him, but I think guys like Cam and Marvin really sold out for him. I mean, they bought into we have to be leaders. We're the captains. We need to be accountable. We need to set an example. And then when that guy leaves, and you're barking at your teammates, we're imagining you're imploring them to work harder. I mean, Marvin, we hear Willie was said a few weeks ago, Marvin made them keep running laps because they were pouting. I mean, you're making your teammates do that, but you keep losing, and then now you have a new coach, an interim guy. I'm an offensive player. I don't know who Odell is. I don't, blah, 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 blah. It's just there's a lot of sort of uncertainty swirling around how they're going to play. But I did think it was kind of curious that he did evoke Willie kind of almost like win one for the Gipper for the guy that just got fired.
Well, and he did say it was a testament to Taggart. He was asked about the culture and the differences between the culture when he took over last year and the culture that he took over now. And I think he said accountability, which is a big deal. That's fine. Yeah. And he did say that Marvin was out there at practice on Sunday after the news. They got told before practice, and they went out there and practiced that he was one of the leaders, one of the guys that was yelling at the guys to keep going and practice hard and do everything else. So that's good to see. But he did say that he thought it was a good practice and it was a hard practice, and he said that was a testament to Taggart and the kind of culture that he built and the players that he had recruited, I guess.
I hope Odell's barometer for hard, good practice is different than Willie's. It was a good, hard practice because we heard a lot of good week of practice.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And, 12 L's. 12 L's.
So, I mean, we'll talk about it, I guess, as the week goes on. We are expecting that we're not going to have any more availability this week, so that we won't be speaking to Bryles, we won't be speaking to Harlan Barnett, we won't be speaking to any players until after.
We might not speak to them ever again. And I'm legitimately, we might. I don't think we spoke to another coach after Odell was hired.
Yeah.
I mean, Odell got the interim job 2 years ago. I don't think we spoke to anybody else. So and then they were all gone. So there might be a chance we don't ever speak to Bryles or Barnett ever again.
It's crazy.
Which I want to say goodbye.
Yeah.
And a lot of good moments.
So, I mean, so how do you feel about the Boston College game? Like, if I was talking about Kevin Keene from WCTV here in Tallahassee about,
name drop. Pick that name off the floor.
Whoa, hey. He's a good dude. I can commiserate with him about working in
really
television,
tall.
And he laughs. Yeah.
Did I tell you the time that he had me on? It was it was like a Friday afternoon. It was pregame. It might have been before the Virginia Tech game. I think. I can't remember. It was recently. I mean, it was last year. But maybe the spring game. I don't remember. But he had me do a live hit. That's what they call it in the business house. I don't know. It's a live hit.
Uh-huh.
And literally he's, 6'6", 6'5"?
Yeah.
And I'm 5'8.5". So it looked ridiculous. So I can't remember. I think what he did is he squatted down.
No, he spreads his legs out really
That's
far
what he did.
wide.
He spread his legs out like doing a split, like a Freddie Freeman split, trying to catch a low throw. And I'm like, my leg is intertwined with his leg because if I let him spread all the way out, I'd be out of the camera angle. So I had to be rubbing up against his leg just so it didn't look ridiculous. And Jordan Culver, who used to work at the Democrat, we would do these videos together, and he was like 6'2.5" or 6'3". He literally squatted down to be my size because we didn't have a phone book. Do they make phone books? I don't even know if I guess they still produce phone books.
When I was in Dothan, they dropped the phone book on my front doorstep.
Yeah, I guess maybe they still make them. But he did it. It was like a 9-minute video that me and him did with him squatting down.
Good
and then
hammies.
He had trouble walking. I mean, that was hard. He's like, so I just remember that. That's right. He did a split. He did almost a full-out split. God bless him.
I don't care, man. I'll stand up. It's just you got to deal with it. I won when it comes to evolution.
Yeah, that's true.
When I was in Dothan, Noah Mendel, who was on the show last week to talk about Miami, he's like 5'7" or so, and he's very self-conscious about his height. But he's a handsome man. He's got a very good-looking fiance who's a pharmacist. He's doing really well in life. But in TV stations, they have pretty much like apple boxes, like apple crates that they'll put the anchors on. So like he would always, and we would get ready to do a two-shot. He's like, "Where's my box?" I'm like, "Dude, we got to go." They're like, "Stand by." He's like, "Where's the box?" I'm like, "Just stand there. It's fine."
Yeah.
It's not like I'm lording over. It's not like Shaq talking to I don't know, Martin Short. I don't even know Martin Short's short. I just figured, with the name Short. He's
I think he is pretty short. He seems pretty short.
But anyhow, so
remember that scene? Did you ever see Naked Gun?
I can't remember.
Folks, if you see it, if you haven't, go see it. It's really funny, or at least it was when I was a kid. But there's a dude that's a really big, like giant that Leslie Nielsen would be talking to him, and he'd be looking up, and the guy's face wasn't even on the screen. Yeah. And he's like, "Hey, Billy, you got something on the side of your face." He goes, "Oh, do I?" And you see his arm go up, and then a half a banana just falls on the ground. That's one of the funnier scenes of that movie.
I know people don't. Maybe people want to know who the next head coach is going to be. When we find that out, you'll know. It'll be on Warchant.com. Use the promo code FSU New Era. But this Boston College game, again, I think it's a big deal. So where was this game after? I don't want to throw my guy out there, but I don't think Ira felt all that optimistic walking out of Doak Campbell on Saturday night that this team would rally well in Boston on Saturday. So I don't know where you had this percentage-wise. Kevin was just like, this went from like 30-70 win-loss. Now it's maybe like a legitimate 50-50 kind of coin flip. I mean, where do you stand on it?
Yeah, they beat the tar out of Syracuse. They ran for like 500 yards, but they only threw 10 passes. And I do think Florida State, if they're into the game, and this is a big deal. This is a big deal with Marvin Wilson and Robert Cooper. If those guys are in the game and playing, along with Emmett Rice, I guess Dontavius, if he gets back out there again and plays, if those guys are willing to be physical and to take on blocks at the line of scrimmage and to try to make plays and not just kind of get moved around like they're on skates because they don't care, I think you're going to win this game, and I think you're going to be kind of comfortable.
Really?
I just don't think Boston College can do enough through the air to hurt you, and most times when Florida State loses, it's because of what happens in the air. I mean, they gave up to Miami rushing? 50?
Yeah.
And that's a pretty good running back.
Yeah.
I mean, not a good offensive line, but it's a good running back. But they give up 300-something yards to the air. That's how they get beat. But if you're playing a team that doesn't throw the ball, and they're going to run 85% of the time, I think you got a chance. Plus, their defense isn't any good. So you might have a chance. You beat them last year. Beat them last year, and I bet that loss still stings.
Right now, the forecast
well, that's an issue too. Yeah.
Says around kickoff it'll be 36 degrees, but mostly sunny.
Okay, the snow I think is for Friday, right?
Snow showers on Friday, correct?
Yeah.
So the good thing though is I'm pretty sure Odell is 1-0 in games that are under 40 degrees.
Yeah,
so
right.
This is nothing new for him.
Sorry, Adazio.
Yeah, I wonder, is he almost done? Like, if he gets beat by interim?
Nah, I don't think so. It's Boston College, man. You going to do better than Adazio in this day and age?
Okay, so Boston College currently is a 1.5-point favorite.
Okay. All right.
No over-under has been set, but they're a 1.5-point favorite. So at least I think it's going to be a competitive, close game. Yeah, I really want to see them win this game. I really want to see them win. I really want to see them get back to a bowl game. I think that's just, it'd be not even to participate in, but just a nice.
If you want it so much, you go to Shreveport.
I will. I'll go to El Paso.
Is that the agreement we're making?
Yeah, dude. This day, year of our Lord, 2019.
November, what are we, November 4th, November 5th?
As we record, it's the 5th as they're listening to this, the 4th as we record. I'll go. I'll do it. I mean, you guys are sending me to freaking Gainesville to cover a basketball game as we have the biggest, our football program is falling into disrepair. I'll drive to freaking El Paso before I'll drive to Gainesville to cover hoops. No offense, love you, Leonard.
Yeah, that sounded like a lot of offense.
It's like game 2 of the season.
It's a Sweet 16 team 2 years in a row. I don't know if you've been paying attention. It's a basketball school.
That game's not
You might have to
matter.
go to the ACC tournament, too. Of course it's going to matter.
Well, they'll talk about RPI, but then they'll talk about it was played in November, and we're doing this in March. They're like, well, it was in November.
What does it matter with you? Everybody listening to this show is like, when are y'all going to start talking about basketball? Tomorrow. And then there every day after.
He's Corey Maslow. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant.
If you want an adventure, you could climb a mountain or ride dune buggies through the desert. Or you could just head to your neighborhood Zaxby's. Introducing the Smokehouse Cheddar Barbecue and Southwest Chipotle Filet Sandwich Meals. They're brand new and they'll take your taste buds to wild and exciting new places. Both feature our famous hand-breaded chicken, and they're both available for a limited time. Only at your neighborhood Zaxby's. And don't miss Jumanji: The Next Level, only in theaters.